Recording.
Hey, everybody. Hope all is well. Let's go ahead and fire away. You can unmute yourself. You can type in. Go ahead and let her rip.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg. How are you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good, thanks. A little tired here. Just wanted to ask for your insight.
Mhm.
I will be working on this person with some very deep-seated grief from the loss of her mother, and part of it's also
How long ago did the mother pass?
um, the same year my mom passed, 2019.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
like five years ago.
Yeah. So there's probably some calcified things there, and there's also self blame, feeling that she didn't do enough
Yeah.
for her
I
mom.
think that's a little bit of the grieving process sometimes,
Yeah.
like where somebody starts to feel regret or, would have, should have, could have,
Yeah.
Okay.
When you look at um, her energy centers, Greg,
Sure.
can you look at it, particularly the back heart?
How is her sleep?
Um, when I was with her a couple of months ago, it seemed normal to me, like because she just keeps going. She's super high functioning, um very high up in the corporate ladder,
Mhm.
so probably exhausts herself and always like out doing something.
Yeah, I would say part of the thing with not being able to, process through the grief is she looks very intellectual uh,
Mm-hmm.
and not very much time in the intuitive state, including in sleep time. Um,
Oh, okay. So she recently got ginger lily.
yeah, that's a good place to start. I mean, Ginger Lily is a very good place for her to start because, it will help to transmute the grief, but it also, part of like how it transmutes the grief is stimulating the other side of her brain as well. And so wearing it, inhaling it, you could have her do that pattern of the Ming Men back heart crown. But I would say the arms and legs need to be cleaned up quite a bit. Um,
Is it just
either with oils or
from?
with just like, with EV or something, just go through and clean up the arms a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
The issue being that there's a little bit of dissociation when it comes to the the situation with the mom and probably a little bit of other areas, but we just check out a little bit and then we just kind of run the programs, you know what I mean? And she
Yeah,
looks like she's running the programs a little bit. um
for quite a
you
while
could,
now.
yeah, you could even direct the gingerly in the pattern of the sex chakra, back heart, back throat crown, just because that would have a
Sex back.
back heart, back throat,
Yeah,
and crown. That would
gotcha.
have an impact on some of the instinctual responses. And
Mm.
for her, like for everybody, instinctual responses eventually turn into like the intellect as well as lower emotions. But it's almost like the thoughts look like they get triggered for her rather than that she's grinding on it. It's like, you know, how like somebody would have like PTSD and they wouldn't be able to move past it, and like things would trigger it, and then it starts this whole thought process. That's what it looks like. She it happens with her, that she ends up doing is, and so the lower centers need to be cleaned up, the arms and legs need to be cleaned up, and then the transmutation, because you're taking energy from the lower centers and moving it up. Yeah.
Okay, so she also has Splendor and
Yeah, Splendor could work.
some,
Actually.
yeah.
Like, does she have like a rollerball, or does she have like 5 mils or something?
I think just the I forget what
So
it,
like the little 2 mil bottle.
no, she has the full bottles, I think.
Okay, have her take some Splendor salt baths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be super good for her. Like, I'd have her do like a Splendor salt bath before you guys did a session. That would be
Got
super good. It would make your work way easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how would I when and how would I integrate the hyssop? Should we start with ginger lily and then move to hyssop?
You maybe hyssop first. Like
Hyssop
do
first.
the hyssop. Uh, Let me just look at her for a second longer. Mm. So she's in like upper management or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, she advises wealthy people on how to manage their money. She basically has her, yeah.
You know that pattern of the that you could do two different things. You could do that pattern of, you know, how we do the back heart, the navel, and the crown.
Mm-hmm.
If she's into it, she could do cycles of that. If she's not into it, have her just inhale with her awareness on the navel with the hyssop.
Hyssop.
Yeah, like that would
I don't think she, oh, maybe she does have hyssop.
oh, I thought you asked about hyssop.
Oh, did I say hyssop? Sorry, I meant
Yeah.
helichrysum.
Oh, helichrysum. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Helichrysum, just think of the mom and inhale. Like she could put awareness on the heart or back heart, but just thinking of mom and inhaling would probably be the best. I
Okay.
mean, you could do like with that. I mean, one of the things that happens is, you know, homeostatic emotions or lower emotions, we look at them a lot like you can access them in different ways. And it's almost like the different ways are in different stages. By the time they've hit the chakra, they've gone through the physiology for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to go a little bit more directly to the physiology, because you
Okay.
get it at a little bit more of a root, like seed cause, rather than just cleaning things up. And for that, heavy emphasis on the lungs, but then, you know, the organs of blood purification, so liver, gallbladder, kidney, spleen. And if it's too complicated and you just want to boil it down to something, do lungs and liver. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
And just do a general EV or focusing on still on the mom.
I would use a helichrysum like that, and
Oh,
then if
helichrysum.
you're going to do it with healing, just general. Yeah, just general.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so,
Appreciate
and then
it.
keep me posted.
I will. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And then go ahead, Lolly, then Megan.
Hey, Lolly,
Hey,
how are you?
so I'm good. So many things happened today. So okay, let's
It's been a
start with
really long day. It feels like it's like the weekend was like 7 or 8 days ago.
I don't know, it all feels like a continuation of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So let's start with the latest kind of emergency situation. So my brother-in-law got into a car accident
Oh,
in
is he
Israel.
okay?
Well, he broke his ankle. Yeah, overall he's fine, but open, so it's an open fracture. So basically they took him to the hospital. Yeah, so the ankle, right ankle on the inside, open fracture. They put him in a cast. My dad said it took like 4 doctors to do that. So the cast is basically from the foot all the way up to the knee. I guess they kind of had to move it and kind of put it in place. I don't know. Yeah. So then he's supposed to be with that for 10 days, and then they're gonna do surgery. And then they did CT. They did CT on the stomach as well. They're waiting for results. On the stomach, I guess he had like a scratch or something. I guess they're ruling out like any blood clots. Not sure. I put him on the prayer petition for Stara earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
So then I'm wondering if I wanted to treat that with oils. I'm wondering if he would be receptive to do it for pH without actually telling him.
You know, like when it's so close, man, I would try to get something physical, like if he
That's
has oils or if you can get it to him quickly.
uh,
Tarragon would be super good, and
yeah.
helichrysum would be good. Like
Wait, tarragon and what else?
helichrysum.
But then so tarragon, obviously. The helichrysum, I was wondering, because if I can't put it exactly on the place, what would you do?
Oh, still just the inhalation of it, and like even putting it on the wrists. Man, that's kind of a bad break.
What about those pills that you mentioned, the Solomon seal? Would that
Yeah,
be
solid seal definitely would help. You know, you can him being in Israel, I don't know what delivery is like that, but like here you can have those drop shipped pretty quickly. And
I'll check. Yeah, I started to check online.
so
I had a meeting,
I
but
think you like what you do is you go on like Amazon, but Amazon Israel, and then you
I think she can possibly, I mean, iHerb, they deliver to Israel pretty fast. I just need to see if they actually have those pills,
seal. Yeah.
because I don't think Amazon would be that fast, and my sister would have to do it because it makes more sense.
Right.
Um,
Because we were having that issue like when we were doing something, I can't remember, was it with the book or something where there was India, Amazon, and different countries had their own version of Amazon.
yeah, I think they have different things.
Completely different products, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so like I'd go back to the things like Solomon seal for the broken bone. It sounds like the doctor's on top of it, but like still, as much as you can support it, a lot of times it reduces sometimes even like the amount of what they need to do. The thing with bad breaks like that is, the more that you can treat it and prep it, a lot of times they don't have to use as many pens or screws or whatever, or sometimes you can avoid it. It depends on the nature of the injury, obviously. And so Solomon seal is very helpful for that. Black cumin and galbanum are going to help
Yeah.
reduce inflammation, balance out the
That's what I
nervous
figured.
system.
Yeah.
Tarragon would definitely help with stress and the emotional component. He needs to be inhaling that for probably the next 3 or 4 weeks at least, if not 6. you know, the thing too is the body, even with the injury being resolved, that kind of injury does put the body into a more of a degenerative state. But right now, I would say just support the actions for the you know, the surgery, the bone, and the injuries, just getting his body to like calm down, and the degenerative state I would deal with like in 3 or 4 weeks. Like I would just try to help him get stabilized as much as possible and reduce the shock and the trauma of the incident. And you know, degeneration you can deal with later, but right now it's like you know, there's so many stresses, you know, I don't need to tell you this, but so many stresses in Israel, and then on top of that having
And
a
yeah,
nasty car accident is just ugh, I
and
can't.
and basically what happened, I don't think I mentioned that, he has a motorcycle. The motorcycle, so a scooter passed by, and then basically there was an accident. The scooter kept going, and the motorcycle fell on him.
Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah,
that's why.
and I
Because
think
even when you were telling me that, I was trying to figure out like how did that happen?
so that's how it.
And then I
Yeah,
just let it go, but like now that makes sense. Yeah,
that's.
now that makes sense.
And I think he has a bad back. I don't know why, but I think he every now and then he has some back problems. Yeah.
Even the bad back, like I would deal with that a little bit later.
Later, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just stabilizing him, his emotions, his body, and helping that area to heal, you know, before and after the surgery is
Yeah.
that's what I would focus on. So I
So
mean, if you just went bare bones, galbanum, black cumin, and
yeah.
tarragon. I mean, the helichrysum, you know, you probably aren't going to put it on the spot, but the helichrysum will help with will help the body's like healing processes. But the reason why I always say that was more the trauma and the homeostatic emotions that come from an injury like that. The tarragon will help, but eventually, you know, as the body calms down, there'll still have to be another wave of like flushing out those emotions and things.
Yeah.
And so
The thing with this guy is, I mean, he's a good guy and everything. Expressing emotions or dealing with stuff, he gets very emotional or he just doesn't deal with that. But I don't know if he'll actually do these things. Like he'll take pills,
okay,
but
we'll take pills like in will he inhale things or do we need to do things
I'm
that are
not sure.
topical or
Topical probably better. Also, as far as topical, marjoram body tonic, they have that. And is there any way to troubleshoot it with the kids' oils? Because that he already has. So, like, it's
well, if he has the marjoram body tonic, have him start putting that on his body.
okay.
Like
Yeah, my
it's
dad
not
has that,
perfect,
so
but it's still
yeah,
better than nothing. And
yeah.
you know, it's tarragon-ish. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like it's not quite like how tarragon would, but it's. I mean, the thing with marjoram is it does help pull the body out of fight flight,
Mm-hmm.
and his body is in super fight flight because of the
Yeah.
act, you know, and so I like that for him. The kid kit.
Do you need to remember what's in it, or you remember?
I think I remember.
Okay. I have it here if you do.
Yeah, well, like give me a
It's
list.
myrtle, thyme linalool, lavender malleate, Roman chamomile, and red mandarin.
Why don't you have him put the marjoram body tonic on like his, you know, obviously not under the cast, but on that leg and on the low back and even his abdomen, and then have him put several drops of that Roman chamomile on his wrist. It's not perfect, but it's better than
Yeah,
not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you might even just do that, and if he's not going to be like you said, he might not do some of these other things. Let's just have him do that and call it good. You know,
okay,
I'll look at him. You know, if he's on the list of the prayer petitions, you know,
yeah.
all of
And
them. I'll
and
do.
I'll send you his name as well.
Sure.
Thank you. I'll look into the Solomon's the Solomon seal. And
Yeah.
then is there any point in doing healing on him? Is there any point in doing pH? Is usually I'm not sure how
You do the
receptive.
broken bone stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Even though the bone is still not 100% set, still do like the yellowish
Yeah, I would still do that.
okay.
Yeah, normally like when there's medical procedures, I'd say, let's wait, but for that I would do it.
Okay. And then when I do like even the other like general sweeping or whatever, then use colors like I'm fine. I don't need to go to white with him. That's what I'm not sure.
Yeah,
think he's
I
more
would keep it really simple, but like a lot of calming down the solar plexus and the main men. Lots and
Okay.
lots of that.
Yeah.
Lots of
Okay.
yeah.
Um
Yeah, I'm so
okay.
sorry to hear that about it.
Oh my God, it's so yeah, it's a lot. Oh, and he's still in the hospital now, so they haven't even
Yeah.
released him. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's probably a good place for him to be.
Yeah.
You know, with that kind of injury. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that
So
sounds nasty.
yeah, and thank God my dad is there. So because my sister, you know, she has the kids, so it's the whole
Mhm.
thing going on. But so thank you. So that's about that. Now the other thing I'm wondering about is I just had a meeting with someone potentially working with her, like at her space, actually doing healing, which I'm not sure if that's gonna. Well, we can look at that in the work stuff, but as far as health stuff, so she has celiac, she has mast cell activation, and she has
She has
something that's
what? She has
she
what?
has mast cell activation,
Okay.
and she has celiac for the last 20 years.
Mhm.
And then she also has something that's called Ehlers-Danlos. Are you familiar with that?
What, say it again?
Ehlers-Danlos. It's basically like when there's like hyper extensive of the like it's like the person is really flexible and they can get injured really fast.
You get what?
Like a weird spelling.
Yeah,
I'll
do you
send
know
you.
how to spell it?
Yeah, I'll send you that in a second. It's like
What was the
weird.
explanation?
They're like overly flexible, and so they're more.
Oh,
And so it
yeah.
manifests in a lot
Yeah,
of
I know
different
what
things.
you're talking about. I've never heard
Oh,
it called that name, but I know exactly what you're
so
talking
wait, I'm still like spelling this
Yeah.
thing. But the thing is, so there's a few things around that. One, she said that she was recently diagnosed with that, and it explains a lot of other things. So that's one. Wait, I'm still like spelling this thing. Sorry about
That's
that.
okay, and Robert got it too, I think, right there.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, it's this one. Thank you. So I was wondering if there's something that can be done with that. And also, you know, sometimes people have stuff and then they talk to you and then diagnose you with the same thing. So she talking to her all of a sudden, she started asking me different things. And she's like, oh, I think you might have the same thing because she's like, stretch this and that. I'm like, oh, not everybody can do that. So we need to look at me too.
So I would do a couple of things. Like I would focus more on the state of the body rather than starting to chase after the conditions themselves. And you know, from the vibrational healing class, you remember that part about metabolic instability where we use the larch? She needs a bunch of that. Like her body's in a like a metabolic crisis almost. And a lot of times is that's just like degeneration that has like accelerated basically. And so the body goes into this really like active degenerative state. And so the thing with the hyperflexibility, it's a hard thing to explain, but it's almost like I don't even know the proper words for this. Like in mystical practices, we'd say the person needs to be more spirited. And it just means like um you know how like sometimes you might be doing something and or there's like a thing to do and you're like, oh, you know, I don't know, I gotta think about it, or and then there's times where you know you might be dealing with the same issue and you're like, I'm gonna get stuff done today, we're gonna take care of this, boom boom boom, and you're just going at it. It's an outward expression of I don't know what you want to call it, spirit. And it's almost like when that diminishes, the body becomes I can see it, I just don't know how to explain it. I mean, bottom line is it just doesn't express out well, and like the drive to thrive is not very strong. And so the more that you kind of invigorate it, like you know how like when there's an autoimmune issue, the thymus is like overly exaggerated in its effort and it goes after the body, and you know basically the immune system is attacking the body. It's almost the opposite of that. The thymus is so like casual, it's just like it's all good, like I you know, it's like it's not, doesn't have this like fire to like survive and like push and overcome details. And so the manifestation of that is a few things, and one of them is even if the ligaments are potentially like stretched out or they have this hyper flexibility issue, you know, you see it a lot in like Down syndrome kids and things like that, where they're super like double jointed and they can bend in ways that, you know, they can bend their fingers all the way back and everything. And even then it's like we still would use things that help them to be, you know, in my notes I used to just call it being more spirited, and it's not like spiritual or anything, it's about like the essence of man coming through, or the essence of being human coming through. um uh so things like different kinds of time would be very good for that. It's not going to be a quick fix, and it's not necessarily going to tighten up the ligaments, but it will tighten up the muscles so the ligaments are way less of an issue, because it's not just like a ligament issue, it's like the connection between the mind and the body is not
Mhm.
super strong. That's probably a better way of saying it. And it will increase the connection between the mind and body, and will make the body like more resilient. And so like red thyme, white thyme, thyme linalool, like I would probably rotate them. I'd even say thyme serpolette, thyme citrol, benchmark thyme. I mean, you could just do like a thyme supreme, or you could rotate them. Or if you just wanted to go one, probably like benchmark thyme or red thyme, red or white thyme. That would be how I would start the treatment, and then I'd have to evaluate where they were at afterwards. But
And is that internal?
yeah, it would have to be internal.
And
I would
then
say internal, and also some good inhalation.
And then, I mean, the way she explained it, it's like the hyperextension is just, or hyperflexibility is just one of the manifestation, but it's
Mhm.
also like bruising easily, aches and pains, and basically, yeah, the body is like not strong to,
Mm.
yeah, like I guess breaking down in a
Yeah,
way, but not really, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
even like getting cold and even pins and needles, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
So, on the thing with the hands and feet, I was going through my notes. Angelica is used for cold hands and feet sometimes.
I have the body tonic yesterday, and I kind of pulled that, and I was like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
I should kind of, okay. I've been gravitating towards that recently.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I
Um,
found that after the class on weekend. On Sunday night, I was writing something, and I was like, oh, look at here, right in my notes.
so if you were to use it for really cold hands and feet, you would use it as what is not really
You could try
like,
topical, but you might have to go internal at some point.
okay. Oh, so then
Topical might work though.
so topical even as a body tonic, or more like a cream?
I would either do body tonic. I would probably take it internal, my first choice,
Okay.
like a tincture. But
Okay.
but if you already have the body tonic, then work the body tonic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that I can do, and that works for her as well. Okay. So basically for that, so for her with all that she has going on, because
I'd start with
So-
time. Like,
yeah,
time is what I would work with.
and the time internally a couple of times a day or once a day.
Yeah. I would spread it out. I would do like 2 or 3 times a day, maybe just a drop or two, but just like consistently through the day.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then, so, then any inhalations. Okay. And then the Angelica. Okay. Thank you. And then since, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the things that she kind of mentioned, I mean, sometimes people, I mean, different things can have like cross-reference of like symptoms.
Mhm.
But since a few of the things she mentioned, I mean, I kind of have them. Is that something that's relevant for me, or is it just
I
like
would stick
cross-reference?
with the stuff that you got in place.
No,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
you know, how the mind starts
Yeah.
like working on crazy
I
things.
joke
so-
if I spend too much time on
WebMD.
WebMD,
WebMD, yeah.
I'll be convinced that I have sickle cell anemia, and I'm
Exactly.
weird because I'm white, and like,
Yeah.
no, that's not a white thing, and like, ugh, yeah, I have to stay off those sites.
Oh, yeah, and here it was just a combination of too many things, and I'm like,
Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
what?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Since we are talking about her and we already, is she a good option? I mean, she has a space for all kinds of like treatments, like facials and all kinds of like those type of like beauty stuff, like hair salon. Everything is like very holistic. I can potentially have a space there if I wanted to, just to build my business and kind of. Is that a good fit? Like, it's not going to be right this second because they do need to.
Yeah, it would be okay. It wouldn't be amazing, but it wouldn't be bad. You know what I mean? It'd just be, it could be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want
I mean, it would be
amazing,
a
but
space, and it would be a way to get foot traffic and attract people, but you know,
Okay. Well, we'll keep it as a potentially, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. So I'm looking at my questions. One of the questions, because I don't always remember them. One of the questions is Angelica for circulation. That
Yeah.
was actually one of my, so yay.
Yeah.
It makes me very excited that I'm on point with those things. So now let's do a quick, oh, by the way, follow up on my head and my shoulder situation. The head actually resolved almost completely, like the headache that I had. Sunday night, I felt so much better. And then the shoulder, I can still feel it. I'm still working the same things, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah,
just keep,
keep at it for a while.
okay.
You're conditioning it, so it's not going to be a thing that just goes away overnight. So just keep
Yeah.
doing the same stuff. Yeah,
But it
it's
does.
working. It's producing a result. It's just
Yeah.
now consistency and time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So then, a little bit of a different question. And if we can talk about that right now, it's fine. But so yesterday, what did we do? Oh, we had a study group for the chakras, and you mentioned scanning, and that kind of brought up a question for me because I scan when I do healing, I scan for other stuff. And like yesterday we scanned, I feel the energy, felt like it's getting stronger. And what I'm wondering about though is I know that I need to be better at it. And I'm wondering if getting better at scanning is something, because it's not really, I mean, obviously it's not the intellect, but it's not really the intuition either. So I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah.
It will be more, okay.
Yeah.
So would it be like any working more of any specific patterns, or
It would be, how we do the thing like when we do like be aware of your body, be aware of the environment, and you're just observing and watching, and you watch like really one pointed and then you let go. It's just it's that, just practicing that for a while. So you could do it with different oils and things like that, but it's really more about the practice of doing that. When you're doing that, you're practicing observation or watchfulness, and it's a thing that just gets developed like everything else. We just have to practice it for a little bit, so it's just practicing that.
so using any oils with that, or just even without?
Yeah, I mean, use fancy oils, use like something like tuberose or poplar, either one of those would work. Aloes,
Okay.
ginger lily, lotus, if you're going to do that, you might as well go fancy, because that's
Yeah.
going to get you a quicker result.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that they're fancy is not because they're expensive, but it's like they're expensive because they produce like a much stronger result than other things. So that's why they're in production. You know what I mean? So usually fancy things have fancy things they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, otherwise, if it was, $150 bottle that did the same thing as lavender, nobody would buy it, so nobody would care.
Yeah.
In fact, a version of that is lilac. Lilac is super, super expensive. It's kind of a lot like lavender, and so you don't see it anymore. You don't really see it around because it doesn't really, not a good reason to be buying it. You can just go get some fancy lavender and be, money ahead, and you have more to use for therapy and things like that. So.
And so when I'm doing that, I'm not even doing any patterns. I'm just observation.
Feel it in your body and watch,
Yeah.
then look at things in the environment and watch that, and then feel it in the body again. Yeah.
Okay. And then either doing it with the dorje or without the dorje.
Yeah. With the dorje is a very good way to do it. Yeah.
Okay. And then over time, it's just what? So what is it really? It's really activating the intuition in a different, deeper way.
It's practicing watchfulness, which is a component of intuition. And so without the watchfulness, you really are just always stuck in intellect. So if you don't really have that watchfulness or that observation, it's really, you're only very minimally engaging the intuitive mechanisms, which is learning, problem solving,
Yeah.
overcoming, healing.
Mhm.
And so the practice of watchfulness is like the way you kind of kick in the door and start walking down that pathway. That's why we've done it for so long, is,
Yes.
you
And
know,
then that's why I was like, is there
Yeah.
anything else that I'm okay? And then do it even like as a daily.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Because I feel like I need to be more like I'm good, but it needs to be more consistent that each time I can
There's always room for improvement with that practice.
yes.
I've been doing it for a very long time and I still feel like, but like I look back how I was 6 months ago or a year ago, I'm way better than I was then. And so
Mhm.
it's just
Yes.
always, it's always a process.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Megan, then David.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Greg. Couple people to ask about. I talked to someone yesterday. I don't know if she'll work with me, but she has something I'm not quite sure how to approach. She physically has plenty of energy. She feels
Mhm.
great. She went on a 6-mile hike last weekend and felt fine after. But she feels like emotionally she has no spark to do anything. She has trouble getting up in the morning. She's not depressed though. She mentioned her kids are grown. I mean, they're in their 30s, so they've been grown for a while. She used to have a lot more purpose then. She's on the end of finishing up a divorce. Work kind of sucks, but nothing really major that she brought up. But she will feel so uninspired that she'll just cancel her work meetings just because she just emotionally cannot get herself to do anything.
And,
So I
and
didn't know.
she says that's not being depressed.
Yeah, I mean, she just
That's
called it, I'm not
depression.
depressed, but
Yeah, that's
it's
depression.
depression. Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. But if you look at her, like her spleen super depleted, her arms and legs are a bit depleted, her navel's depleted. And so you don't even have to call it depression. It doesn't really matter. Like when there's the spleen, because her spleen's really depleted.
Okay.
So the issue, like when the spleen is depleted, is that people won't have the energy to feel. Like
Okay.
it's like, I don't feel good about anything. I don't feel bad for anything. I just don't feel like, like they'll they'll have that. And then it's also your overall vitality. So like you'll be doing things and you just don't necessarily have the energy for, you might have energy, but you don't have the energy to get out and do things. And like your ability to overcome obstacles, for example, is dependent on how strong the spleen is. And if the spleen is not super strong, then any sort of difficulty in the day, you just kind of like, I'm done. I've had it. And so like I would say a lot of work of getting in there and you can do the spleen and the navel and then the palms and the soles of the feet. You might just have to do it a few times. The spleen is pretty bad. Like it's really depleted, but that she's going through all the things she's going through. Not surprising. It's just, and then tight and clean cords between her and her partner. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the ex-partner, or however you want to call that.
Okay. I think
There's a lot there.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And you remember how we talked about like working towards the body and away from the body?
Yeah.
Lots of that.
So you'd start general sleeping work outward
You
instead
just
of
go back and forth. It doesn't matter
back
which
and
one.
forth. Okay. I think I kind of think I had a case of the depleted spleen years ago, and you said
Oh,
Naoli was for that.
we all do. Like everybody has it to kind of a certain degree, unless you're really working it. But like when you see, because like I get why she's saying like she's not depressed is it's probably more fatigue than it is like emotional depression. So that's why she's saying, but you know, you look at the behavior and it's like kind of doesn't matter why it's there. There's some depressed kind of behavior in there. You know, could be also just fatigue, but fatigue also is another way of saying a kind of depression.
Hmm.
And so I would look at it from the point of view of just fortifying and strengthening the body rather than trying to address, you know, I'm sure there's emotions about the partner, the husband, whatever. I'm sure there's issues there and whatever, but it looks more physical than it looks psychological. So
Yeah.
she just like her body needs to be pumped up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Including, you know, like the spleen. You'll see that like the the heart, the solar plexus, and sometimes even the throat and ajna will get like depleted as well. And as much as you work on those areas, the the condition kind of stays the same because the root cause is the spleen.
yeah.
And so when the spleen starts to get regulated, not even like just the throat will need more work. You
Okay.
know, like it doesn't even necessarily have to be clean. It's like it's pretty depleted as well. Not like the spleen, but even like as the spleen kind of normalizes everything, the throat is still going to need a little TLC for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have Aryan who is 12. I'm looking for something to help his impulse control rather than sitting and cleaning his ajna 3 times a week and all that. If there's something easier, he is, he's different than me. I was this, good little rule following kid. And in his mind, he calculates if he thinks he can get away with something, he will do it. And that's usually like grabbing video games when he's not supposed to, or I'm busy putting my daughter to bed and he gets the tablet and takes it to his room. And the school tablet is a long story. We can't lock it or put a pin code in it. And so if he, and I'm just too tired to hide it and try to remember where I hid it. And so we're just having this whole cat and mouse game with technology, and had a big meeting with his teacher, and I'm getting frustrated. I've been frustrated, let's put it that way. But if there's something, he doesn't want to be, breaking rules and getting in trouble either. And if there's like something to get him, just maybe it's calming down, the chakras of the arms and legs, or getting the ajna more activated, just so that he's not just constantly jumping on like a device that, he can find, and then he just keeps getting in trouble, and it's upsetting.
So this is what I would do. Will he do a little oil protocol or no?
Yeah.
So I would have him use vetiver.
Okay.
And I would have him use vetiver with his awareness, like have him inhale several breathing cycles on the sex chakra, then the temples, and then the sex chakra and temples at the same time, and then the spine, and then the brain. this kind of goes to like what we're talking about in the plant teachers class. That's I don't know, it's in a few weeks or something. But it's the thing with the, I talk about the crystal skull just because people have a reference for that, but in Buddhism we do something different. We still use imagery of a skull, but it's actually a purification on the five senses. And part of the issue is, just like other parts of your nervous system, the senses get tied to like looking and doing very specific things, and then it's hard to break out of patterns because the nervous system is always working in a very particular way. So like you go through and do that, but let's set that aside for right now. So there's that component, but then the plant teacher component is that each of the plants, it's like it has the potential for a certain kind of like an inspiration or a realization. And you're taking like these tendencies within the intuitive side, which is the side that's the watchful side, the side that learns, the side that grows, the side that heals, the side that thinks out of the box. And here we're talking about even learning behavior, like this is the proper behavior that needs to happen for school. This is the proper behavior that needs to happen for home. And like you said, some rule following. And so Vetiver, like you could say Vetiver in a lot of different ways, but sometimes we talk about like, oh, it's the oil of tranquility. It's very calming. It's very soothing. And yes, that would be the case. And you could say that it's also grounding. Like, like one of the things that I like to do after meditation is I rub Vetiver on like my feet, or, I do other things too, but like I like Vetiver because it kind of pulls me back into my body, and like I physicalize that energy kind of quickly. And then, because I got to meditate, but then 15 minutes after I'm done meditating, I either have sessions, or I got a bottle, or I got to write something. Like I don't get to just sit and bliss out for a while. So like it's like, okay, I want to have this nice state, and concretize it, and I got to move on. And so the thing here, the inspiration here would be like I would call it like bringing forth or bringing down, like you're bringing something down. But basically it just means getting him out of his head and into his body.
Mhm.
And the issue is like when he's starting to like sneak the game, or break the rules or something, he's very much in his head, and he's not very aware of his body. Like he's not very aware of consequences, what's going on. He's just like you said, there's like an impulse, it's there, and that's about all that he's thinking about.
Mhm.
So it calms down the reactiveness, like you were saying, like you got the arms, you got the legs, you can clean all those things up. But at some point, the idea of all that is to pull the person out of the mind. And the mind still stays active, but there's like an integration between the body and the mind. And he's a child, so like this is usually a thing in progress, so it's not super surprising. And given the level of stimulation that kids have these days versus like when I was young, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I had wood toys made out of
Yeah.
wood things, and they have video games that they can carry around in the palm of their hand. Like it's crazy. And so that pattern, along with the vetiver, helps take it's teaching the mind, it's teaching the intellect a very particular thing. That's the thing we're going to talk about like all the different properties of like, I don't know, 55 oils or something. And then like what lesson they bring into the intellect for a type of inspiration. So if you're like going, okay, I have this project, I need to do this, but I kind of am not very good in this one area, then you work that to bring that intuitive component into the intellect. And so for him, he needs Vetiver. Like
Mhm.
Vetiver. Like there's
Yeah.
not even another one that's close. It's Vetiver.
Yeah.
And
His
so
mind is just moving so fast.
yeah, and part of that is because he's you know, being in your head is you're really working off instinct, and you're just running on behavior. You're not really thinking about something, you're not processing, you're not making choices. It's just a lot of reaction. And that's what he looks like he's doing. He doesn't look like he's doing it all the time, but there's times where, you know, for whatever reason, he gets there and then it's just reaction. And so the idea with the vetiver would also help him start to realize like, hey, there might be a consequence, or hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like, you know, there'll be a moment of him being able to process it. And even then he might not do it right off the bat.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's
what I
been
tried
doing
to
it
tell
for a
him.
while.
Like, slow
Yeah.
down, like think
Yeah.
about it. Think about how last time there was a big blow up. We don't want that. And he's
Right.
like, not, he's like, I know, I understand what you're saying. I grasp this concept, but then it comes time to make a decision and there's no decision making going on.
No, it's a reaction. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally a reaction. So and that's what I would do is like, you know, you can start with the heart first if you want, but sex, temples, because the temples you're hitting the prefrontal cortex,
Hmm.
which is the executive functions, and it's like tied to this impulse and this like monitoring to produce certain results and things, or the lack of. Right.
Yeah.
And so here he's having impulse control. Just to be clear, he never like fell and hit his head or anything, right? Like he's like
No,
bad head, like, you
I
know.
mean, he tripped and, fell forward on the sidewalk a few times as a toddler. One of them was somewhat hard. He still has a scar on his nose. I didn't see a sign
But
of
on
it.
his nose, not up here, right?
No.
Okay, like it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask just in case.
Yeah.
So the vetiver, try the vetiver, like see
Okay.
that,
And
and
then
you could even rub a little bit on his feet, but definitely have him do that pattern.
okay. And I was thinking, it was just reminding me, he also has over the years just a lot of like shame, embarrassment for just getting in trouble a lot. I was thinking helichrysum for that, like maybe organs of blood purification or something for emotions. Kind of low self-esteem.
How old is he? 12?
12, yeah.
Honestly, I think the best thing that will work for him is him having some positive experiences and dealing with his impulse control. And
Mm,
I think that will resolve the emotions.
okay.
Yeah, like I mean, we could sit and talk about like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, and like it will be helpful. But until he has some positive experiences, like it's one of the best, like, you know, like in therapy, you would say like one of the best remedies for like, say, like a lot of difficulty in your life is to finally have like some piece of success or something.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you look back and you go, oh, all those difficulties now they've made me who I am and I'm kind of successful now. You know, even if it's just in this moment, he needs a little bit of that. And like
Yeah.
I think as soon as he has that, he'll kind of see like, oh, I did what I was supposed to, and look, I earned time on it where I didn't get in trouble and da 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 da,
Right.
and, you know, whatever
I
it is.
agree.
He just
Yeah.
needs some of that. And so I would you know, if you wanted to do something just to help him feel better in the moment, you could probably use helichrysum or tarragon, something like that.
Okay.
But I would say I go back to the vetiver with this process so that he has the potential to have some successes in those
Success.
areas.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
One
think that
more.
will really resolve it all.
Yeah. Last one. I have Ajay doing the 2.0 mental fatigue class. He's just
Mhm.
done a chunk of it. I have been giving him so much sage. The brain fatigue with him, it seems like it's just stuck on something. His mind is such a hamster wheel. I feel like anytime I'm trying to talk to him, anything I say is just like ricocheting off. And I resort to just like texting him because it's like he's just going a mile a minute all the time.
For him, his bronchioles are super constricted, and so he's not very breathing very deep. He's
Hmm.
breathing really shallow and rapid, and so that will increase stress. It will make him a bit anxious, and it will make the solar plexus like push back. Like, you know, like sometimes you'll go, you know, hey, let's go to the store, but you'll go, hey, let's, and they'll already be pushing back, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
how about letting
only
me
every
finish
day.
the sentence? Right? It's actually tied to the breath.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because I have not done anything in terms of the breath, and yet he'll ask me a question, and I'll get one word out, and he will interrupt me before I've even answered the
Right.
question he asked me, and I'm like, I
Right.
can't even talk to you for
Right.
10
Right.
seconds sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's
It's
interesting.
it's like if you think about like his bronchioles are in spasm, which means that he's in fight, flight, and defense mode. So that's why the solar plexus pushes back, is it's like defense. And it's like, I don't know what's happening here. Defense. Like it's
Yeah,
just like defending. And it's not even like something is being said that's threatening. It's
yeah,
just
it's totally
very,
neutral.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still like,
Yeah. But so like one of the ways for him to pull out of it, I mean, there's deeper things that could be done, but like for him, like if you unwind the breath, he'll probably start calming down. I mean, you could do other things, but I would do a lot for that right off the bat because his breath looks like really rapid, really shallow. And that shallow, rapid breath, you know, it exaggerates anything that's in the solar plexus. You become very defensive. And then the nervous system gets really wonky. Like, you know,
yeah,
because for you to have proper nervous function, you know, long, slow, regulated breathing is what needs to happen. And so when the breath gets off, it starts throwing off the nerves, it starts throwing off the lymphatic system, it starts throwing off your circulation, you know, it starts this like cascading effect that can happen
yeah,
for a period of time. And like you said, he's got brain fatigue and his mind is going a million miles an hour. It's because the breath's not deep, you know.
okay.
I mean, granted, he's got the kind of work that develops that side of his brain as well, but still,
Mhm.
if the breath was deeper, he would be able to take a pause and listen. And
Yeah,
so, like
okay.
I'd say, the issue
Like,
is physiology. Like, you know, stress and being anxious about things might make it worse, but even when he tries to relax himself, the breath won't let him go there.
oh,
Like
okay.
he can't even begin to engage that because his body is in such defense mode.
Okay. Okay, I think I remember what to do for this. So
Yeah.
I'll
Do you happen to have large?
yeah.
Like have him put like 5, 6 drops on his chest, 3 or 4 drops on his abdomen, and a few drops on his back, like all at once. And that will start just the topical application will start to unwind the bronchioles, and then have him inhale it, and it should start unwinding it very quickly.
Okay, awesome. I cannot wait to try that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Just because I'm curious, pursed lip breathing, would that help the
Yeah,
bronchioles, or is
like
that
you
more about your
remember,
friend?
yeah, like so Samantha's bringing up the point of the pursed lip breathing.
Yeah,
You
I
could do
remember.
that
Yeah,
as well.
anxiety
Yeah.
class. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we've talked about it in a bunch of things, but anxiety is one of them. Yeah.
Thanks. And then go ahead, David, then Barbara.
Hey, David.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I've got a question for you. Do any of the oils or any of the tinctures actually raise melatonin? I'm trying to track what I'm doing with melatonin.
Do they do what?
Do they raise melatonin?
The only one that I would say would raise it would be potentially St. John's wort, but probably not that much.
Oh, okay.
The one herb that I know that would do it, not directly, but like eventually would be there's this herb from the health food store. They usually refer to it as 5-HTP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it substantially raises serotonin, and then eventually the serotonin turns to melatonin.
Okay. So none of the tinctures or none of the oils, other than the one St. John's, would be raising melatonin.
Melatonin, I mean, I'll try to go back through my notes, but nothing's jumping out.
Okay.
My end.
Okay, good. Good. That's what I wanted to know. I was trying to track it. Okay, that's actually it. Thank you.
How's your sleep been?
Well, I'm working on melatonin. I'm sleeping fine up till about 3. I'm getting really good sleep up till probably about, as an average, about 3 a.m. And then 3 a.m. I have a bump. And we've talked about this before, but I still have a bump and I'm not quite sure how to get myself back to sleep without overdoing it, like the right amount of sleep aid. So I've tried all kinds of things and I'm trying different things.
Do you wake up pretty wide awake?
Yeah,
Let's do you have like marjoram?
yeah, I have marjoram.
Let's have you like breathe marjoram right before you go to bed and then leave it by your bedside. And
Okay,
when you wake up at, I think, 3 or 4, whatever that is, just start inhaling the marjoram and see if that doesn't put you back to sleep.
okay. And occasionally you had suggested this a long time ago and I still use it, is the Palo Santo on my chest.
Yeah, that could work too.
And that sometimes that works beautifully. It's like
Yeah.
it's so fun because I'll be wide awake and then all of a sudden I'll think this didn't work, and the next thing I know is morning. So very
Right. You could do both. You could put a little bit of the Palo Santo on the chest, but still inhale the marjoram a little bit.
okay. And then
The Palo Santo helps with transitioning or
Right.
transition.
right.
And so like sometimes the idea of transitioning from the waking state to the sleeping state or back to it is like a little bit of where the hiccup is. The marjoram, because when you start waking up at like 3 or 4, 5, something like that, you're starting to have like the adrenals are starting to kick in, and that is normal, right? But that's like how we get up out of bed and get going for the day, is there's a little bit of from the adrenals that help get us from that sleeping state and get you moving through the day. And sometimes what starts happening is it starts happening too soon.
Oh.
It's not that you want to shut it off. You just want to like not have it kick in until it's time.
Yeah, and yeah, that, and I get that. And then what happens is when I want to get up at 8 or 7 or whatever, it doesn't kick off.
Right. So okay, so to go back to sleep, the marjoram will pull your body out of the fight flight mode.
Okay.
So you're not really in fight flight, but you are producing some low grade adrenaline, so it's the same mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do that to pull yourself out of the going into like waking state, so
Right.
it pulls you out of that. And then if you're having a hard time, like after you've done that, of like moving forward in the morning, have something like rosemary or basil.
I do. Yeah.
Perfect. Then From there, it's just about like retraining the mind a little bit of this is what we do here. And, like you have a few good experiences and it should get rolling again.
What I realized is, the last couple of years I've been working out of my house.
Mhm.
I haven't been outside as much, and I haven't been getting, I've been much more indoors, and I
Mhm.
wonder on screens, and I wondered if that's impacting me.
I mean, it's always good to go outside and interact and get a little sunshine, interacting, being with people and stuff. That will help with the transition component,
Mm-hmm.
because the interaction with people, is helpful for that. And so, I mean, there could be a little bit there, but I'm sure it's probably fine. It's just, you might have to work a little harder at it, but not much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Super.
try those things and see if that works.
I will. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then Priya.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there. I spent some time with my mom this weekend, and she's been,
Oh,
yeah, it was a nice visit. But
yeah.
she's
Good for you.
been complaining about a very sore wrist for several weeks, and that
Mm.
it's swollen. And when I saw it, yeah, it's quite swollen. It
Did she
hasn't
injure
responded.
it, or is it just getting irritated and inflamed, or?
She doesn't recall injuring it. Responds a little bit to heat, not too much else. Um, and she said sometimes when she presses on it, it almost feels like there's a little crack. And I would think if she had a fracture in there, she would have known when she struck it on something. But
I mean, is it possible she did something and didn't remember?
possibly, but her memory's good.
Okay, it is good. Okay. So it's a little swollen.
It's quite swollen, actually. And it hurts to rotate it, the wrist, and it hurts if she's got a pincer grasp and holding any weight. And I wondered about a trigger point, and we played with that a little bit, and it didn't seem to make it.
And have the fingers gotten swollen?
I didn't notice them being swollen.
Does she have psoriasis?
No. It's her non-dominant hand, but it's making it difficult for her to do a lot of daily tasks. It's been at least 5 weeks.
Wow, that's a while.
Yeah.
That's a while. So,
Only thing that seems to give her temporary relief is heat, dry heat.
so this is what I would do, and it could be a couple of things, and this kind of covers. I would say let's have you put like most likely in an ointment form, or you could do neat, but ointment might be a little better. Is German chamomile, and German chamomile will reduce inflammation and just it's one of the best things for dispersing fluid that's has gotten stuck in a joint.
Okay.
So there's that. But one of the things that German chamomile also does is it elevates white blood cells, especially in the area. And so it will like clean things up kind of well. But
And that's still topically.
mhm. And that there is a small chance that there actually might be a little bit of an infection in that area. And so if that's the case, the
Yeah, she
German,
says it's warm. It's,
yeah, like it's something's up with that. Like that's, usually when you see something like that,
it's
the
not
times,
red like a cellulitis, but it's
right,
very swollen and warm.
the times that I've seen it, it's usually been like a byproduct of psoriatic arthritis, so you would have psoriasis and then eventually, but you even would see it more like the wrist would be there, but the fingers would also be there. Like the fingers start to look like little sausages.
Yeah, not
Um,
at this point.
um, let's have you, so treat the area. And there hasn't been like a recent cut or anything like that.
I don't think so. She's got quite a bruise on her leg from bumping into something, but oh, actually, I think she did have a cut, but it's weeks prior to this.
But in that area?
Possibly. I'm gonna have to ask. I
Yeah,
don't remember where it was.
I mean, even if we don't figure it out, the German chamomile should move forward with that. The other thing that I would be curious about, does she have a cat?
No,
Okay, and she's not around a cat or anything like that.
she is not.
Okay,
You ask about a
so
cut because of possible infection.
right, like sometimes like they'll be playing or whatever, and they break the skin, and there are like infections that can happen with that.
She
So
had a burn, but I don't know that
no, it would be specific to cats. Yeah, like
this. Yeah, no,
there's that old thing, cat scratch fever. Like that's
right. Yeah,
literally a thing. Like that is I think it was an old song from the 70s, but it's actually a condition,
right. Yeah, no, she's not around a cat.
Okay. So yeah, the few times I've seen that, it's been really bad. Let's treat it with German chamomile. Like do that, and after about like 4 or 5 days or a week, let's see where it's at, and we'll go from there. But like that should at least start moving it in the right direction.
Okay,
And
thank
if
you.
it does nothing, then that also tells me something. But that it reduces inflammation, disperses fluid, elevates white blood cells, and if there's infection, it would actually help to reduce the rate of infection. I mean, you're hitting a lot of things right there with just one application of something. And so
How
if
many
that's
times
not
a day?
working, I would do it probably twice a day. Yeah, just because it's been there a while, it's pretty swollen, given her age and everything, I would say twice a day would be good.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're so.
I have really achy hips today, and I don't know, I've been swapped out my shoes 3 or 4 times, not intentionally, but I'm aware of it over the past week. I don't know if it's that. But 15 minutes ago, I had this shooting pain in my left hip briefly, and then it stopped.
When you say shooting, down the back, down the side, down the front,
Kind of like out the side,
out the side,
the
like
left hip.
down the outer leg.
No, literally in the hip, like projecting, not down the leg, but like out of the hip.
Like
Strange.
from the hip socket.
Yeah,
Hmm. Do you have joint relief?
I believe so.
Put it on both hips. Like you could
Okay.
do neat, you could do it in an ointment, you could do it in a body tonic, so the way that I would do it, like take the oil, put like 6-8 drops in your hand, and then lotion, massage oil, or a little bit of alcohol in your hand, like have it cupped, and then just rub it like that, and then just rub it on, like make it on the spot rather than just making it into a bottle of something.
Okay.
Yeah, just do that, and do that like 2 or 3 times a day for a couple of days. It should resolve that, but you might want to do that from time to time after that. Like not necessarily daily, but like maybe a couple of times a week, just to keep that hip socket, the spasms reduced and blood moving into those areas. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Priya, then Deborah.
Hey, Priya.
Hello, how are you?
Hey.
So, few things.
Mhm.
First, I was with my therapist, and he was suggesting making this difficult decision about the same person. And
Mhm.
um, while I was there, while talking to the therapist, my ankles, I feel like they go numb, and
What
to the
does what,
my ankles, my
your
feet.
ankles? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm telling him that, like, while he's talking to me, and I'm saying to him, you're making this suggestion, and while just listening to you, my ankles are going numb, and they go so numb that it's very uncomfortable. And this is, I don't know what happens. It's just um some difficult decision making or whatever, it's these sort of conversations, and I feel it in my feet
Do,
straight
do,
away.
do you start to feel like fuzzy inside?
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
point where just before I'm leaving his room, he suggests to me that make sure you do a little bit of a walk outside before you step into the car, because I start to dissociate a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's it, you just described dissociation. Yeah.
And this is before heading to such appointments, or before somebody comes home, when I know that this can happen, because I'm very familiar with this kind of feeling. I apply a lot of vetiver on my arms, legs,
Yeah, that works.
but still it just
Still probably
reaches.
do something with your breath. And normally I would say like, oh, try some larch or some hyssop. You know what I would try? I would try Palo Santo.
Yeah.
It's a little bit outside the box for treating something like that, but it's just like how we were talking about with Dave with sleep is, here you're talking about like making a decision and doing something different, and you know it's scary and potentially painful and uncomfortable, and it's hard to kind of break out of where you're at to step into this new thing. And so, like, in a way, you're talking about making a transition from where you're at to this new place. And even if it doesn't happen all at once, still, even if you make little micro transitions, it might not be in one single situation, but you make a little movement and you make a little more movement, and then after a couple of weeks you're in a little bit different place, and then it becomes different, you know what I mean? And so I would stick with the vetiver. I mean, I like the vetiver a lot for you. I would also stick with galbanum. I know we've talked about galbanum before,
Mm.
in either topical or internal. And then a lot of inhaling the Palo Santo. And you
Mhm.
could actually even take a couple of drops of that internally. Like if you know you're going to have like a stressful therapy session or something, you could take it before, but I might take it after. Like,
Mm.
and like, leave the office and take a few drops and just sit and just let that work for a little bit. But I think that's what's happening is, you're transitioning out of like a way of thinking and behaving that's been there for a while, and then talking about doing something different. And there's different ways of doing that. There's letting yourself kind of evolve your way out of it, but sometimes when you feel like you need to force the pace, you can, but there's a little bit of price to pay. And so you're gonna potentially trigger things a little bit. And so here, you're talking about dissociation a little bit, and um, you know, you're probably not dissociating like you used to,
Mhm.
because like a lot of times when people are dissociating, they don't even realize that they're dissociating. But here you're already talking about like, I have the potential to dissociate. So that usually means you already have diminished it somewhat. But it's still, there comes this point where it's like you're in this circle and you're trying to break out of the circle. And it's like every time you get to the edge of the circle, you're like, ugh. And then on one day you kind of just break through that circle. And it kind of is freaky, but at the same time, the circle got bigger. You know what I mean? Like in that breaking out of that circle that one time, you'll still be in the circle, but the circle is different. It got upgraded somewhat. And after a while, it stops being a circle. But for a little bit, it's like a chick breaking out of an egg. Like you got to just keep pounding at it, and at some point, you break out of it, and the head comes through the shell, and and so, I get why the therapist says to do that, but it's like what we've talked about before. There's going to be a lot of back and forth with like, okay, I'm going to do it, and no, I'm not. No, I'm going to do it, and I would say, don't try to force yourself to do something. Just watch yourself go. You're trying to do it, and then you back off, and then you try to do it, and then you back off. Even just observe yourself doing it. Observe yourself trying, and then observe yourself like going, ugh. Like now I've backslid and I don't even want to go there. Like, whatever version of that it is. And, basically you're looking at it more as like just like a behavior or a process that's happening. But like when you're watchful about it, you're doing it in a way that's not really judgmental. The thing that makes it a little bit harder in the situation is we start to go, well, I should be doing this and I shouldn't be doing that and I should be doing this. And then pretty soon all the shoulds and shouldn'ts are triggering. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like you want
100%.
to take all those shoulds and shouldn'ts and go, you know what? You go in the garbage can, like, or at least in the refrigerator for a while, like, and just make it about, like, if you're going to address something like that, drop the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and I have to and I have nots and the why am I doing this, why am I not doing this, and just look at it for just this thing that you're trying to do, and don't make it about like a judgment by other people or you about what it is. You're a chick trying to break out of an egg, and if you watched a chick break out of an egg, you wouldn't be going, man, that's really poor form. Why did you stick your beak out like that first? And why didn't you break more towards the top of the egg? And like, you wouldn't be doing that, right? You would just go, oh, look, the chick is breaking out of the egg. And this one did it a little different, but it broke out of the egg. The only thing that really matters here is that you break out of the egg. How you do it, what it looks like, the wouldn'ts, the timing, it's just, those are just details. They're not really as important as you breaking out of the egg. And I would make it about breaking out of the egg, and all those other things are things that just need to go on the back burner or off to the side or not be a focal point. You know what I mean?
I do, and there are times when I get so stuck up in the should and the shouldn'ts that those are the things that trigger me to
Sure, of
do more
course.
of the back and forth. And I get
Yeah.
because I start making decisions based on that mental
Yeah.
talk,
But
and
see,
then
that's what you have to stop. Like, don't make
yeah,
decisions based on that.
yeah,
Like if you really want to beat up on yourself, really pay attention to the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. It'll give you so much food for, if you really want to feel horrible about yourself, pay attention to all the shoulds and shouldn'ts. But at some point, sometimes, I remember this day, like for myself, like where I don't know, I was in the middle of doing something and I was so stressed out. Like I was just like, I'm not gonna hit this deadline. I'm da 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 da. And I was starting to like make like character judgments because I wasn't hitting this deadline. And I realized for one, the deadline wasn't that as important as I was making it. And then two, I realized I'm the only one that knows about the deadline. It's not like somebody is like I just had decided in my head that this is what had to be done by this time for me to maintain my schedule, and that I had really set like an unrealistic expectation. And then when I tried to execute it, I wasn't pulling it off. And I was going round and round and round and round and round and round. And then I just had this moment. I was like, this was all self-induced. It was completely self-induced. I didn't even have the benefit of saying, well, this person said this and this person said that. It was completely me. And other people will have opinions about things like this. And I get it. But at the same time, you're the one that has to live with it. You're the one that has to go to bed at night with it. You're the one, you know what I mean? Like other people's opinions are okay, you can take it into account. But at the same time, none of those opinions matter. Like you think of it again, going back to the chick with the egg. The mama hen has the opinion of what should happen. The rooster has the opinion like this needs to happen by this day because we gotta crank out more eggs, we gotta crank out more chicks, and yada yada yada. Everybody's got their little issue that they're trying to push forth. But for the chick, the only thing that really matters is breaking out of that egg. You know what I mean? And all the those other things are just other people's opinions. Like in a way, they just become these little weird dramas. And the more that you're able to set those things aside and focus on what is important, the better you'll do. It's like
Yeah.
looking at the moon. Like the finger is pointing at the moon, and you start just going, man, that's an amazing finger. Look at that finger, that hand. Like, oh my God, that person can be a hand model. Da 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 da. You're missing the point of looking at the moon. You know what I mean? And so many times when we have goals or something we're trying to achieve, we get hooked up on the process or how we get to the goal rather than the goal itself. And, there's something to be said to take a step back, surveil the situation and go, what's the goal? What is important? Even if you have a big list of stuff, you have these 20 things. When you get down to the heat of getting the goal done, you can go, most of these things are irrelevant. They're completely irrelevant. So the list might be there, but it doesn't mean you have to do them all. The thing that's still important is the goal itself. And for here, the goal is for you to heal or to get better with this situation and evolve yourself out of the situation. And so let that be the focal point and not the shoulds and the shouldn'ts.
Yeah. I'm trying,
Yeah.
honestly.
And when it doesn't work, don't be hard on yourself. Like it's like, okay, better luck next time. Tomorrow's another day.
I think it's mainly this feeling in the body, and I do sit with it. I'm trying to just,
Mhm.
be aware of the feeling in the body. And then half an hour, 40 minutes later, I'm like, hang on a second. My awareness was supposed to be on my body, and
Yeah.
I have been in my head.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and it's been like how long? 45 minutes or something. So it's like
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to do one thing, but when that shifts to again being in the mind too much and not doing what I was supposed to, so it's just, it's even more frustrating that what am I doing? You know, is there
Yeah.
an end to this? And
The
just
other thing that I would say on that is Rome wasn't built in a day. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a lot of consistent little successes and not one big thing. So even if you do it like a couple minutes longer, the next day, but you still do it, still an improvement. You know what I mean? Look at it as like the little movements that you get the improvements, and not the end result of like, I need to do this. It's like, yeah, I need to do it, but I'm getting closer. It's getting there, because that
Yeah.
I would still fall that under the shoulds and shouldn'ts. Like I need to just be done with this all at once. And yeah, there are things that can work that way, but most things don't.
Mm. The I use Dorje and Purva every day. Sometimes I do the 4 quadrants, maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Mhm.
Is that too much?
No,
Especially with this Dorje?
no,
No?
no.
Okay. And the Purva also I'm doing every day.
Yeah, that if as long as your body can handle it, and it sounds like it is, like you're fine.
Yeah, okay, good. Second thing I wanted to discuss
Mhm.
is if a friend talks to me about their trauma, I cannot cut off from it for hours and hours. I'm blessing them, I'm praying for them, I'm crying for them.
Mm.
I feel their pain so deeply that I am literally alone crying because please God heal them. And it's like I can do Rue, I can do whatever, but I feel like my gods do not cut, or I don't know what else is going on.
How is your jaws?
Tight. My jaws are mostly always
Yeah.
tight.
That's you know how we in the newsletter there's a thing about unwinding the jaw.
Yeah,
Do that. Do that process.
yeah,
Because what's happening is in these situations, I mean, it even would play a role into what we were talking before that, but especially here is it's not so much that the jaw is a problem, it's that the jaw is a reflection of something. And your body and your nervous system is super hyper reactive. And part of unwinding that jaw with what we laid out there in that newsletter, it's like it unwinds the jaw, but it also unwinds the hypersensitivity and hyperreactivity. And like really that's what you're dealing with right there is you have a reaction and then it just takes you to eventually to some of the unconscious traumas that you've had in the past. It's not like you relive them, but it's like the feeling, you go to the feeling and you're not doing it on purpose. It's just what happens, but it's because your nervous system's a little too hyperreactive.
yeah. And I think when these sort of things usually happen, I forget boundaries. I try to go out of the way, doing things and trying to resolve it for the other person. And sometimes I just have to remind myself that, hang on a second, this is going too far.
Yeah.
So that's something that I struggle with. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll work on the
Yeah.
jaws. Lastly,
Because it's kind of it's like a long process. Like you're doing the jaws, the ear, the forehead, the
yeah,
solar plexus, the sex chakra, the Ming Men, the calves. And part of what you're doing is you're unwinding that potential in the body to be reactive like that, which is reflected in the jaw. it's not necessarily the jaw causing it, but you're just hitting it all, and then you're using the jaw as an indicator.
Yeah, I want to ask you about something that you had suggested to do, and I've done it, and I feel so good after I do that practice. That's the sex chakra and the temple minor, and the both
Mhm.
together, but with the marjoram, because you were talking to,
Mhm.
I think it was Megan, and it was
Mhm.
Vetiver that you suggested for the other person. I was like, what does marjoram really, what
Re-
is its property?
Resilience
Yeah, okay.
makes you feel like not like tough, but like mm, it's like being inspired to do something, and even when something's not going well, to like, okay, but I'll try again tomorrow. Like, like that idea, like how we were
Yeah.
talking about. It would be the lesson of marjoram.
Mm. I find that practice
Yeah.
life-saving at
Yeah,
times.
I agree. Yeah.
I did not know. I just did it because, it was
Yeah.
that moment when you asked me to, and I just liked how I felt so much that I've been doing it
Mhm.
every day. But yeah, I
Perfect.
feel like it brings me to some sort of a balance very
Yeah, exactly.
quickly.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not like you feel like, oh, I could take a punch or something. It's just like you got juice in your legs to do it again, or you got juice in your legs to try a little harder, or you got a juice in your legs, like if something goes well, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try again tomorrow. Like,
Mm,
might not like it. I might even feel a little bad about it, but still going to try tomorrow. And that's that thing where you have it in your intuition. It's just your intuition and intellect haven't like mashed it together. It hasn't inserted yourself. So that's why I use that word inspired is you need to be able to get that piece of the that intuitive message into the intellect. And so it's
mm,
almost like poking a hole into the intellect and just like spoon feeding it that aspect. And so
mm,
just inhaling marjoram kind of doesn't do it. You kind of have to hit that pattern the way that we talked about.
mm,
And when you do that, you're working instincts and you're working the prefrontal cortex, which is your executive functions, and how you do things and behave, and how you monitor things to produce a result, and your daringness, and there's so many things that are all wrapped up to those executive functions. And you're just like aligning those two and then moving it forward to having that express itself out in the external world. And so I
mm.
would keep doing it.
Yeah. About that, during menstruation, is it okay to do that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, okay, good. My stomach has been a bit funny. I have been burping quite a lot. My tummy growls, but sometimes really loud. The doctor had asked me to get a test done for Helicobacter. She reckons that I might have had some bacteria or something in my tummy. I got the
But
test
it's
done.
just growling really loud.
Yeah, but it's very loud and quite embarrassing sometimes. But I burp a lot. Like I never have had this kind of an issue in the
Are you
past
drinking
ever.
like soda water or like
No, just
sparkling
everything.
water?
No, the only thing different has been I've been munching on some cheese. I love cheese,
Yeah.
and maybe that I don't know if
I,
my
I,
body.
no, I think that's okay. The thing with I mean, get the test just to make sure that you don't have some weird thing going on. But what I would say is sometimes when the stomach is getting kick-started to a higher degree, there's some grumbling, and that actually can be a good thing. And so, it's not going to last forever, but it could just mean that something's shifting in your gut. And if you think about like being in fight, flight, or in that reactionary mode for a long period of time, as you shift out of it, your body starts to go into a little bit more rest and repair. And if you continued that, it would be rest, repair, and digest. And so that could be a byproduct of you coming a little bit more out of fight, flight and going into more rest and repair mode. And your gut is kind of like waking up's not the right way to say it, but it's starting to like kind of come back to life. And eventually the grumbling, also the pulse in the gut will change, and your brain and your gut will start communicating more. And so that is actually one of the signs you look for, is like grumblings in the digestive tract. And
Yep.
so, I mean, still, that the doctor's concerned, you could knock out that test just to be sure. But I think if it's what I think it is, I mean, I'm not sure, but like I would still do the test. But if the test comes back negative, I wouldn't be super concerned about it. I would just watch it, and over a period of time, it will regulate. But it just means that the gut is functioning to a new level.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first I thought it's just stress causing
Yeah.
all this tummy upset and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got the
Well, you're
test
doing a
done.
lot of hard work, and so even though it might be stressful, you are addressing it, and in a way, even though it's stressful, you're reducing stress in other areas that have had a profound effect on you for a period of time. And so as that shifts, your body's going to change. And even though it might be stressful now, there was stress that you were experiencing that you weren't aware of, because you're like dissociated, or just like super reactive or whatever, and so you weren't really super aware of the stress. But if you step back and you look at it, that behavior is like a super stressed behavior, like all those times before.
Yeah.
It's stress on steroids. And so even though you might be experiencing stress, it's almost like you're being more present with what's happening and having some of the stress, but the stress is actually lower than what it was. You're just more aware of it.
Yeah. Ah, thank
So good
you.
job. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Those are all very good signs.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like I am sort of breaking out of some deep-rooted patterns, but
Yeah.
just the way it
Yeah.
happens is sometimes a bit like, yeah, I wish it was not
I say
so.
get a garbage bag and you go through the house and you pick up all those shoulds and shouldn'ts and throw them in the garbage. Take it out to the curb. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to do that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
You're
really
so
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Christina.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam. So, I have this near my like the tops of my shoulders, but a little bit back near my neck on
Okay.
both sides. I had like bumps, and I thought, oh, I got mosquito bites, and even though they were kind of equally placed on each side of my neck. And then they went on for a while with me scratching them a little bit, but trying to stay away from them. And then that sort of went away, and then the next thing I noticed is I kind of have a rash that remains, and it's more prominent on the right side than the left side. And I've been traveling, so the only thing I had with me was the helichrysum and some Melissa, and so I've been putting helichrysum on it a couple times a day, in the morning and then in the evening. It's not getting worse, but any input what that could be, it's really strange.
So it started off as a bump and then turned into a rash?
Yeah, it was a bump that was like itchy and like a mosquito bite, because for me they get really big when they bite me. And it was on both sides, kind of in the same places on the shoulders, in the back.
And like right here
Mm-hmm. Yep.
on both sides?
Yeah.
And did it turn red, or did it just like kind of raise up a little bit?
So it's just beyond my vision, so I really have to look. I can feel it more than I can see it.
Right. Okay. Good point. Yeah.
So I and because I touch it often, when I do go to look at it, I don't know if it's because I've been, not scratching at it, but just kind of massaging it. I am headed home. I'll be home tomorrow evening, so I'll have access to other things.
So, I mean, you guys have had the hurricane and then you were moving. Like, what's stress levels like?
What does stress look like? Is that
No,
what?
like what's your stress levels like these days?
Oh, well, it's interesting because I have felt okay. So I just went to Weaverville, um, and it took me 2 days to get there. It took me almost 9 hours just to get out of Florida because of all of the
Yeah, I bet.
relief crew that were leaving at the same day I left. So now I'm, I'm on the first day heading back. So that was really, it was like it was like in waves. There'd be like crossing over the bridge into Asheville. All of a sudden I got this huge wave of complete like horrible sadness that
Yeah.
came and went really quickly, and I knew exactly what was going on. And then got to the place the next day. I had just amazing. I was like, okay, this is why I'm here. And then the next day, my body was like rebounding with this like energy that I couldn't be around anyone. And then I was out and exhausted.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I think like sometimes when trigger points get really super bad, especially those ones in that suprascapular area like that, they actually can raise up and they look like a little bump. The rash that throws me a little bit, but the elevated part, like I get, and given what's been going on for the last few weeks, I mean, it's a lot of stress. Plus, on top of that, you're trying to move in the middle of this, which is a stressful. It's one of the most stressful things you can do without a hurricane. Let alone two hurricanes. And then North Carolina got hit so hard, like just one thing after another. And so I would say, you can treat the area, but I would say even just the body, like just do things to like calm the body down, deepen the breath, even just sitting and like being aware of your feet, and it would release like tension out of your body just by putting your awareness on your feet. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do. Like at the end of the day, I just sit with my awareness on the feet, and then, it just kind of like is a reset. And I would do some version of that, things like spikenard on the feet or inhaled or on the chest, large. Your Melissa's a good idea. Like you could even double up on some of that. The helichrysum, doing the organs of blood purification will be nice.
Okay.
But I really think it's just like if you can reduce some of the stress, and it's not necessarily even emotional or mental stress. It's your body, like our bodies will sense the chaos and want to establish order. There's been craziness here. There's been hurricanes. There's like, things are not the way they should be. So that establishing order is another way of saying your body is stressing out. Like your emotions and mind could be like, yeah, everything's under control, but your body's like, I don't know, this looks nuts. But your emotion and mind can be very, very calm about it. But your mind has a different way of looking at it. If you want to calm that down even more,
Like the big bumps are they're pretty much
they're gone.
gone. I
Yeah,
can
gone.
feel them when I palpate
Right.
below the skin. And it's just really on the right side. There's an area that's about a little bit bigger than the size of a quarter.
You know how we did the, let's see.
Could I also mention one more thing, Greg?
Sure, of course.
So I have a dear friend that doesn't live very far from me in Florida, and she does sound healings on me sometimes.
Mhm.
And I just asked her, like randomly, it came to my attention to ask her, have you ever had these little things on your shoulders? And she said, yeah, my doctor just said, don't worry about it. And then I was wondering if I had chords with her because I feel other people's pain.
Mhm.
Um, it was just so weird that it came to my intuition to ask her, and that she has something similar in the same spot.
Hmm.
I mean, and what I noticed when I was in Weaverville is that experience to feel other people got heightened.
Mhm.
Not just their emotional pain, but their physical pain.
Right. I can't imagine. Like, I've been close to things like that, and it's just sad, you know. Um, let's have you use the Melissa. But like the pattern is that same pattern that I was talking about with Megan, where you go like heart, and then sex chakra, and then temples, and then sex chakra and temples at the same time, and then spine, and then brain.
Okay.
And do this multiple times
Okay.
with the
And
Melissa. Yeah.
and um when I was doing the Melissa, because you had given me a pattern with Melissa, I was kind of curious, like how many breaths should I do before I move on to the next spot? Because usually I'm just following you and not thinking about it.
I do it for like a minute or two.
Okay. All right.
Like, do you have the Melissa there right now?
I do.
Try just inhaling it on the sex chakra and the temples at the same time. I'd just like to see something.
Oh, right now. Okay.
Mhm.
The temples and the sex chakra at the same time.
Mhm. You know, it's not doing the whole process, but just that little tiny bit. Like, how does that feel to you?
Actually, I was extremely tired falling asleep when I was waiting for my turn, and now my eyes feel bright.
Yeah. I think is what we're talking about. And so like think of the Melissa doing this process is, you know, the plant teacher component of it is with Melissa is fortitude. And like a way to say that would be strength of mind to deal with difficulty or pain. You know, also change.
Change.
And,
Oh, that's big.
yeah. And so, you know, you got all of that. You got the hurricanes, you got you know, you're moving, like there's you know, you it's a perfect storm for you. And so it will just help because even like strength of mind, I think is a way of saying it that's almost a little misleading because the mind is still a byproduct of instinctive responses, emotions, and then thought processes that some of it is actually even endocrine. You know, your endocrine system functioning through the brain and through the nervous system. And so even the idea of strength of mind is the calming down or tempering of body responses so that the mind can function the way it should. And sometimes what happens when the body is going through a lot, and here you're not going through it directly, but you're in the vicinity of things that were crazy. And so your body is having a moment, and it will impact like not so much the mental processes, but it just it puts you in the place where you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's not even like you have a reason to think that another shoe is going to drop or the other shoe is going to drop. It's just like your body is like, all this is going on. What's next? You know, and you know, after a period of time, it will start to go, but right now it's like, I don't know about that. Like I'm going to stay guarded for a little while. And so all of that makes the body like really kind of like agitated. It's not even the right word, just like tense. And so the manifestation of it is those bumps by the neck. Yeah. It's the upper trapezius.
Yeah.
That trapezius, when it gets really wound up, it will actually raise up and you can actually visibly see it, you know. But you know, anyway, just don't mind that with the Melissa. Like it should help. And then let us know in a few days if it doesn't.
Is there anything in this kind of situation to do preventatively, like be proactive before it manifests in this way?
You still could have done Melissa prior. Yeah. Like this pattern with the Melissa prior. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe when I have a lot going on, it's a good pattern and a good oil for me.
It would be a good pattern, but I would also say if you do it, you don't necessarily have to do it right before you go do something. Like the mind will start like embracing this process. And so it might not be a thing that you have to continue to do. It's just like sometimes you got to like jumpstart it or make the pathway bigger.
And maybe just picking up the oil from time to time will help, like a body
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome. Keep us posted though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so
And then go ahead, Christina, then Lolly.
Hey, Christina.
Hey Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm asking on behalf of a client.
Sure.
She recently was diagnosed with 2 nodules around her throat area.
On the thyroid or on the parathyroid or
It's encroaching on the thyroid.
okay.
But they're not doing treatment on it because it's not encroaching enough to do surgery or whatever it is that they
Okay.
do.
So we say nodules, we're not saying tumors, we're just saying there's
She used the word nodules and it sounds like it's benign.
yeah.
And she wanted to know if there's any oils that can help her with that.
Yeah. Let me just look at her for a second. Okay, so this is what I would say about that. We want to improve the function of the back solar plexus. And the reason being that the back solar plexus, when it's malfunctioning, starts to cause a lot of like weird inflammations or inflammatory responses. And that inflammation can start to turn into like making some of the body processes chaotic. So anytime you see like a tumor, a nodule, anything like that, it's chaotic cell growth. And so I if she's up to it, I would actually use the back solar plexus blend. And then will she do a protocol or will she just inhale it?
She could do both. She's pretty
Okay.
open.
Okay, so have her put awareness on the back solar plexus and then the brain, the spine, then brain spine together, and then brain and soles of the feet. And then, have her do a cycle or 2 of it, maybe 3, whatever she can handle or is up for. But have her do that every day for like 2 weeks.
Will that shrink the the nodules?
It possibly could. I mean, I've had a couple of cases where people had malignant tumors, and all I did was clean and open up and improve the function of the back solar plexus, and the tumors went away without even addressing the tumors, and they weren't getting any other treatment. They were in areas that were non-surgical, like they couldn't do surgery on. And so the idea would be that at some point you could follow up. I suspect that the thing that we would follow up with that would be there's this oil called hinoki. And I would like to see the back solar plexus treated for like probably a good week to 2 weeks. But then after that, she would still maybe do it like once or twice a week, but she would be applying the hinoki directly to the throat. But the reason to wait is really want to jumpstart that back solar plexus functioning better. And this is much more than just like that blend and that pattern. It's much more than just cleaning or energizing. It's making that chakra function better. And when that chakra function better, it just starts cleaning house. It starts cleaning up the internal organs, body tension, inflammation, inflammatory responses. and eventually it gets to like the chaotic cell growths. So I would have that happen daily for at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll relay that to her.
Okay.
And then go ahead, Lolly, and if we have time, there's a question in chat.
Yeah, we only have a couple minutes. So.
Hey, just a quick follow-up. Angelica, for the circulation, the cold arms and legs. If I'm doing it as a body tonic, apply the body tonic all over the body.
Probably. I mean, if I had my choice, I'd take it internal.
And
But if-
internally, so
um,
internally you would take a tincture?
Yeah, tincture, like a dropper full twice a day.
Okay, better than doing the single oils.
You could do the single oils too, like 2 or 3 drops a couple of times a day.
Okay, and then the seed and the they would do the
Either way
same.
works. Yeah.
Okay.
And seed is a little less expensive, so I'd do
Yeah.
that.
Okay, but I'll probably just order the
Yeah.
tincture. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
You're so welcome.
Right. Well, we do have to get over, but let me just see about this question. A 10-year-old recovering from histoplasmosis over the last 3 days. His mother is very open to therapies. Are there any oils or protocols for the son and the mother?
Yeah, it's gonna take more than a couple minutes.
Okay.
Like, can we get that and then maybe email that? So that person will email you in the next day or so.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Like, I don't have the time. We only have a minute or two before we jump over. But
Any follow-up questions, or we'll ask that in the chat?
we'll ask it when we do the email.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. All right, that's great. I did just post the link if people want to join us to bless the Star Healing and Prayer petitions. But I mean, unless you want to do something for literally 1 minute.
No, let's go ahead and
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Thanks for everything. And tomorrow night the mystical tool practice with the Kartika is going to be tomorrow night instead of Thursday night. And join us if you have a Kartika, and if you just got your Kartika, send us a picture and let us know. And hopefully we see some of you guys on the weekend at the Vital Centers class. So. Yeah.